Human trafficking is an extreme form of exploitation in which one human being would use another human being, and it could be for any number of things. It could be for human organs, it could be for work, so labor trafficking, or it could be for sex.
There's nothing else to call it except modern day slavery.
It's all about exploiting the person that does not have enough self-esteem in themselves to see the beauty of themselves.
What they have identified is that there are about 1,000 victims of domestic minor sex trafficking.
84% of victims in Ohio are American born.
We're talking about American kids that are not 18 yet.
What we've learned over the last 4 years working in Central Ohio is that a lot of times the statistics don't even include women who have been prostituted.
Right here in Columbus, Ohio, I noticed that we were arresting between 1,000 and 1,500 women every year for prostitution. One is a prostitute that's engaging in sexual activity for hire, and the other is a prostitute that's being compelled to engage in sexual activity for hire. We borrowed some stuff from the Polaris Project and developed our own human trafficking assessment tool. Went out and did a study of 20 of our women. Over 92% of them tested out as fitting the definitions, without a doubt, of human trafficking victims. 1,000 women a year arrested for prostitution. How many of them are human trafficking victims? Over 900 of them, right?
We're also called to educate ourselves, because when we educate ourselves, we're able to educate other people. Learn about this stuff and then speak out about it. Don't keep it silent within you.
We do two different things in the schools. Assembly style prevention education on what human trafficking is. And we also run these psychoeducational groups on boundaries and healthy relationships. And then we train teachers, social workers, and counselors on identifying victims. We screen movies. So we have, documentaries that we sponsor and then do Q&A afterwards.
Walk a Mile is a national event that is geared towards domestic violence. We use the Walk a Mile name and brand to create awareness against child sex trafficking with Grace Haven. Probably about 80% of our participants are men, and they walk a mile in high heel shoes to honor the girls, the women who have to do it on a nightly basis. And this event is so unique, and it's men in high heels. I mean, what a better conversation starter right there. Not that you need to make light of the topic, but it's a very light and fluffy event that can lead to great discussion of the cause. And it's also an event that you don't have to be a runner, you don't have to be a walker, you can bring your kids. We have a lot of families that come. And we also have Catch Court come, which are the women that are in the Judge Herbert's program. So they walk with us, and they have to be so far into the Catch Court program. So that's so inspirational, because they're in the crowd and they get to walk in sneakers, and we honor them, and so they get a chance to tell their story, and they love it.
ABOU is DOMA's Abolition University. It's their education component, and traditionally it is a 32-hour 11-week course. This past weekend we condensed it into a one-day. The course is geared towards parents and educators, but also just everyday people. People that might not consider themselves abolitionists, that might not consider themselves activists, that are a little scared by the term sex trafficking and scared by child sexual abuse, but they have kids or grandkids or they're around it, and they realize, 1 in 4 girls will be abused by the time they reach 18. 1 in 6 boys. And they become so overwhelmed with the facts and the figures and the statistics, and it's scary and it's hard, that they just decide, I'm not going to do anything. They become immobilized. And so at DOMA, we really focus on hope and freedom, and we talk a lot about freedom. Our social enterprise is Freedom a la carte. We talk about that success and the successes that we're seeing. And so when people are able to see specifically, it's a huge problem, but here are small solutions that are being very effective right in my own town, and there's things that I can do daily, weekly, monthly that will make a huge impact. And so I think that helps people actually take action and become involved.
And work with and for all oppressed people who are in bondage.
Doma means home in many languages, one of which is Russian. And the basic sense is that we are creating a home for women who do not have one.
We'd like to open a drop-in center.
Drop-in center where these youth can come and sleep for 5 hours, get something to eat, get resources, clean their clothes, talk to somebody on site.
It serves as a point of contact for kids that are marginalized and kids that don't have very many touch points with safe adults that could provide them with services that would aid them in being rescued and restored.
Like counseling, material goods donations, community linkage for services, for health insurance, for transportation. We'd like to be able to provide those services to women.
I had to do it on my own. And I don't want other girls have to do it on their own. I just don't. It's not easy. It took 10 years to get to this point. It's not okay.
Because we have such a unique lens for how we see these women, we don't see them just as folks who are recovering from drugs or alcohol addiction. We don't see them as just street prostitutes. We see them as victims of human trafficking.
I didn't even know what PTS was. They had me diagnosed as bipolar, manic depressive, schizophrenia, schizophrenic disorder, like 6 different disorders.
But they didn't know how to address the underlying issues of human trafficking. It's a total different type of trauma. It really is. And because of that, it took many, many years to get out. Like I said, over 10 years. They misdiagnosed me. They had me mismedicated to the point that I should have never took some of the medications I was on because they didn't understand.
We treat these women much as you would treat another victim of crime or a victim of torture.
She said, it's like a Vietnam War vet. What you went through is just as bad, if not worse, as what vets go through when they're in war.
At that time, I didn't know what Stockholm Syndrome was. I didn't realize that until halfway through my associate's degree when I'm in my psychology class. I'm like, well, that was the problem this whole time? I had Stockholm Syndrome? I really thought something was wrong with me, but there was a title to it, so now I can address it.
You gotta be gentle. Gotta be gentle. Most of these victims are still children.
So you're dealing with folks who got into this lifestyle when they simply weren't decisional. They weren't 18 years of age. They weren't adults.
Even at 28, 38, we're still very much children inside because we were stolen that young, most of us.
So that brings an interesting dilemma in treating them, because we're treating an individual who has that real early childhood trauma.
These organizations in Catch Court is crucial because they understand, they get it. It's like a Vietnam vet. You just can't go to any kind of counselor. You have to go to a vet-specific counselor. Same thing.
I basically came to the realization one day that that I felt it was my responsibility as a judge to try to figure out what is the process, what is the forces or influences that a woman goes through to wind up selling what is most personally precious to her. Women helping women and having them in court speaking, which gives women their voice back, which oftentimes in court will say, hey, what can we do for you? And we'll get them to say, I need this. And then we want to flood them with resources to get that done.
DOMA works with the Catch program to support the ladies with both vocational training and with mentoring. Freedom a la carte is our vocational readiness program, and it really blossomed out of an idea that we have as a collective at DOMA, which is the kind of sacredness of food and coming together as a collective and really sharing. Freedom a la carte is our vocational readiness program, and it really blossomed out of an idea that we have as a collective at DOMA, which is the kind of sacredness of food and coming together as a collective and really sharing and breaking bread. Freedom really functions as a wonderful way for women to learn hard skills and soft skills on the job. So soft skills are things like interpersonal skills, like how to be kind to your coworkers, how to de-escalate when you're verbally confronted, things like that. The hard skills are things like knife skills, things like food preparation, ingredients, how to use safe handling procedures. Those skills are all skills that they're taught as well. So we're really taking a woman with no job training prior to her presentation of freedom and watching her as she blossoms into this amazing human being who's capable of chopping and dicing and shipping and marketing a food product to a capable audience who's ready to receive it and wants to receive it, and then they receive the product and they're getting all kinds of information on human trafficking as a byproduct of that, because all of our materials go out with the food orders. So it's really quite a lovely process to see folks who are just eating a sandwich get educated about human trafficking.
My goal is to really, truly just help others in the fight against human trafficking. Root of Things, the Women's Empowerment Collaborative is one side, that's the profit side. And then SOAP Ministry is the nonprofit side. Sustaining our at-risk populations. It's not about one population, it's about any at-risk population. And then the SOAP part is really about helping, the outreach part, helping people get, some kind of toiletries that they may not get in the streets. It may be a glimmer of hope that someone does love them in spite of where they're at, and especially because of where they're at, they're loved. There's a special bar of soap I put in there that I make personally. The organization does. It's a 3-butter soap, and it has lemongrass and lavender in it. And both of them have aromatherapy properties for calming and stress relief and all that. And then also it's an antiseptic. So it's kind of like just this aromatherapy kind of philosophy. Like, I want them to envelop, when they take the shower, just in calmness. I want them to know that they're loved. And inside of that, hopefully just seeing those 5 numbers to get help shows them that they love, they're loved enough that we care enough to give them numbers. So each bar of soap has numbers in it for that region or that neighborhood that could help them get out of a situation, whether it's addiction, domestic violence, prostitution, a child runaway, exploited child, anything. So what this Empowerment Collaborative does is whoever has a craft, a niche, whatever that can be profitable and sellable, I have no problem putting it in anywhere and empowering all of us as a community. A lot of my stuff is recycled, reclaimed, and repurposed for a reason. That's part of my ministry as well. I'm reclaimed. I was repurposed, and I have been recycled.
I see hope in that it's beginning to be identified and given a name.
I think once we can be more proactive on letting them know they are victims, they are not the cause of this, they are victims, then there'll be more hope.
How many hundreds and hundreds of years? Back to the biblical books. It's been going on. It's not going to stop overnight. It's not.
Hope is getting these people caught. Hope is bringing attention to it within the legislature and the news. And hope is letting people talk about it. How many times in the past year has it been brought up in the news? A lot.
There's like an army that's rising up throughout the nation and throughout the state and saying like, hey, this is really an issue, and it's something that's unacceptable and has gone on for too long, and we don't want it. So we're going to work together.
I see hope in vocational training, in real job skills training that we can provide survivors so that they can transition out of the lifestyle.
Get dirty. Don't be scared to get dirty. If you're scared to get dirty, figure out another way that you can really get some hope to somebody. Because it could be as little as just giving someone a smile or a hug, truly, that could give someone hope. Or just a random word of inspiration could give someone another day of hope. That's where I see hope at.
And it allows victims to self-identify in a way and to seek healing in a way that they have not been able to do in the past.
I see hope every day because I'm working with survivors every day. And when you work with survivors, you see that hope and that beauty.
And I think anytime you're empowering kids, sort of the next generation, making them aware and making them feel like they matter, like they can do something about this problem, that's incredible, because we're going to have a whole new generation of adults coming in who say, hey, this is unacceptable and this is going on and we're going to do something about it. We're not going to stand by and let it just be those people over there that this is happening to. It matters, and it matters to our community. So we're going to rise up against it.